Hello everyone, it's Medina from the Clarinet Life, keeping it classically real for y'all, and we're going over some Nocentini etudes. Okay, so I'm looking at etude number 6. This one is in G major. We like G major, 1 sharp, nice. Okay, so let's get right to it. This particular etude, the dotted quarter equals 58. I said dotted quarter. We're in a compound meter. It's 9/8, and just a reminder, make sure your students are familiar with compound meter because the beat is divisible by 3, and it's important that they understand how that works. So if your student is not familiar with compound meter, I suggest that you hold off on this particular etude or etudes with compound meter and introduce that concept and then bring these etudes to them so they don't get confused and so they can feel confident about what they're doing. Rhythm is a big deal, and so we want to make sure that they understand the meter and the divisions. Now this particular etude, the first thing that probably your student will notice are the 16th notes. And so this one is, as I said, dotted quarter equals 58. So it's going to move a little bit quicker. The smaller the division, the faster the notes are going to be, right? However, I feel like the finger motion, meaning how it, and when I refer to that, I'm talking about how it lends itself on the instrument. It's quite nice, I think. There are little areas I think that might be like, ooh, tricky, but I think for the most part it's okay. There's a couple of spots, and I'll share that with you guys later on. Let's see, I did take some notes. Let's see. So let's see. Oh, I think, wait a second. Okay, so now I'm looking at the right notes. We start off with piano, and we're in, like, you know, not the highest register of the clarinet, but we're not in the medium level. We're in the more upper area. So it's really important that your student has that control, making sure their armature is in the right place and getting that sound. The other thing that I like about these Nocentini etudes is style, and number 6 definitely has style. It's not heavy sounding, right? It's kind of like la 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 do 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 do, you know, very light, kind of more upbeat, I would say. Excuse me. The rhythm that keeps continuously coming is dotted 8th followed by 3/16. 1, 2, and 3, and that's an important concept for your student to learn. And this is also kind of the reason why I say if you're not familiar with compound meter, this might be a little bit of a challenge. Not impossible, but you just have to understand that when you're counting, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's in 3. 9, 8 is in 3. Division is the 8th note. So bum ba dee da dun dun dee dun 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 dun. If you're thinking the 8th notes, right? So again, metronome is your friend. I always recommend it. In terms of breathing, my rule of thumb, I have 2 rules of thumb with breathing. 2 thumbs, 2 rules. Number 1, breathe at the end of a phrase. And then the other one is breathe after a long note. Because with a long note, you just clip that long note a little bit, and that gives you the time to breathe. However, sometimes you don't have that convenience, but for the most part, that's pretty basic, I think. So normally, if I had to take a breath, it would be after the dotted quarter. Da, 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 if I needed to. Okay. So there's kind of like these little arpeggiations that are in the music, and this is like one of those things where it's such a great pairing with like something like the Behrman, or maybe even the Hamelin. Those are exercise books that are focused on scales and patterns. I think the main thing with this particular etude is just understanding how the 16ths work with the 8th notes. Let me see if I can play just a little bit more for you. I'll use the metronome so to give you a better idea. So it says quarter note is 58. Okay. This is 58. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let me put it in. So for the beat, I'm putting it on like the triplet mode because the beat is divided into 3 parts. So I think that's pretty helpful. Let's see. What else? I think that's it. Okay. Let me play a little bit for you. Where do I want to start? I don't know if I want to start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning. Okay, fine. Alright, here we go. So something that just came into my mind was the breath marks. They do give breath marks. Thanks, David. David Hite is the editor of the Melodious and Progressive books. And I think that's cool. However, I don't know if I totally agree with all of the breath marks. So the breath marks, like I said, we breathe at the end of the phrase. There are certain areas that you can kind of breathe at a later time. I think that you should make that decision. So here's the thing. This is one of the challenges of being a wind player, as opposed to a string player or a pianist or a percussionist, is that you need the air. And you do need to plan out where you breathe. And depending on the music, sometimes it's more like vital that you're consistent of where you breathe. Other times it's a little bit more flexible. This is one of those instances where there's a little bit more flexibility because this rhythmic pattern of the dotted 8th followed by 3/16 happens quite frequently. And so you can kind of sneak in the breath there. So that was something that came to my mind as well. Let's see. And the other thing is, you notice when I had the metronome on, it really kind of like cleaned everything up, put everything in its place, nice and tidy. So that is, again, I always recommend using a metronome, even if you're like, I could sight read this like nothing. Still, use the metronome anyway. Like, okay, try to sight read it without the metronome. That's fine, but then put the metronome on second time around and play it, and you'll see and hear and feel a difference. Let's see. I think this is a really cool etude. I really like how it kind of flows and moves forward. I'm gonna start 10, maybe 13. Yeah, let's try that. I'm going to start where the phrase begins, which is B2. I got off the time. There's a rallentando there. For me personally, musically, I would keep moving faster. That's my own artistic kind of process. Just to add a little more intensity to it. But that's not the most important thing. And then we have back. Okay, let's talk about this section right here. 20, 21, 22, measure 23. So this might be an area where your student might have a little bit of questions. I say use that bis key, fork it. You have F sharp and E sharp. E sharp is the enharmonic of F natural. Enharmonic is the same note spelled differently. So you will have to do that. There's a D sharp, and we noticed there was a C double sharp. So just as a reminder, a sharp raises the pitch by a half step. So like, for example, C, G sharp. But C double sharp means that that pitch is raised 2 half steps, a whole step. So instead of just, it becomes a D. So C double sharp is a D natural. So it's one of those things that, just FYI, if in the key signature you have a sharp or a flat, double sharp, whatever, that you see in the music, it doesn't mean that you add, like, for example, you have an F sharp in the key and you see an X, it doesn't mean that you add a whole step plus that sharp that's already given, meaning 3 half steps. It's only 2. So if you see an X, that means that that pitch is raised from its core, it's raised by a whole step. Okay, so just realize that. Sometimes I've had students not understand, and so all of a sudden they're playing a totally different note. And so just remember, sharp raises a note by a half step, a double sharp, it looks like an X, raises it by a whole step, okay? So that is that. There's some 16th here. Okay, so I'm glad that happened. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm practicing is focus on the finger motion. So in measure 26, there's all 16ths. I like to use the right B natural, by the way, but there's an interval D to B. Anytime you have to use a finger from the left and the right, you know, two different hands at the same time, and we need them to come together, we don't want the boogadut, the extra note, so it's important that we practice it in a way that helps us. So sometimes what I do is I'll practice in a way where I'm still working on the flow of the notes, but then I focus on that interval. And I always keep the time. I don't just do it sporadically. Yup, up, 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 beep, bump, beep, bump, bump, deka, 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 da, 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 da. And you could do that for other intervals. Intervals is distance between 2 notes. You know what I mean? So that's something that can really help your fingers a lot. The other thing is, moving forward, measure 27, chromatic. Yeah, starting on F sharp. So your student will have to know that. Most likely, if your student is playing these etudes, they know how to play chromatic scale. But if you don't, make sure that you focus on that. It's really important. Etude number 6 from Nocentini. This is, by the way, the Melodious and Progressive Studies book. And did by David Hite from the Southern Music Company. Ricordi, I believe, also might have it. Maybe they have the 50 technical studies, and then there's also I think Indiozoni Musicali, probably pronouncing it wrong, that has these etudes, specifically the 24 melodious etudes. But yeah, well, I'll play a little bit to finish this off. One note that I just thought of, looking at measure 27, 28, 29. We have a B natural followed by an A sharp and then a B natural. If you notice, after the D on that downbeat, I broke a little bit and tongue because I can tongue that next note. So let me play that again so you can notice it now that I've kind of brought it to your attention. Yeah, so there you go. Number 6, Nocentini. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching these videos. Please subscribe if you haven't. I would love for you to join the family. If you have any questions about this etude, or if you've played these etudes, put it in the comments below, and I hope to see you guys next time. Like this video if it helps, and have a great day.